D. Smith was his exceptional leadership, his vision, and commitment to excellence. Without his foresight and guidance, the very ground that you all are standing on today could still simply be just a cow pasture. But instead, it's truly the world's greatest fire and rescue training facility. And this is the very reason we dedicate this week's school and all the schools this year to the memory of Chief Smith. Chief Smith's career began in 1941 in Kingsville, Texas as a volunteer firefighter, then as an aircraft crash fire rescue instructor at Harlingen Air Force Base, and was followed by serving in the U.S. Army in World War II. From 1947 to 1950, Chief Smith was fire chief of the Harlingen, Texas Fire Department before he joined the Texas Fire Training School in 1950 as a full-time instructor. He was later promoted to chief of the school in 1957, a position he held for over 30 years. The original fire school that was held its first annual fire school in 1930 with approximately 100 students on the campus of Texas A&M. In those early years, ladder and hose drill operations were done at Kyle Field, and there were some makeshift fire props done at Hensel Park. The school also began its fire extension program, whereby instructors, including Chief Smith, would travel throughout the state of Texas training local fire departments. It should be noted that these two products of the school, live fire training and extension outreach training, were keenly observed and never lost by Chief Smith, and they served as bedrocks of the growth of his legacy and history to this school. As a native South Texan, he knew things in Texas had to be bigger and better. First, he continued to enhance and greatly grow the annual school that you enjoy today by offering bigger and better live fire training. He was quick to realize that in order to have larger fires, the school could not stay on the campus of Texas A&M and had to move to a more isolated area. He fulfilled that feat by relocating the school to the present-day site that you're on today in 1961, which, as mentioned, was simply a cow pasture back then. The fire field layout and the facilities you enjoy here today were the visions and products of Chief Henry D. Smith. Larger fires and larger attendance required more and more guest instructors, and Chief Smith knew how to work with the fire chiefs of Texas to recruit and mold new guest instructors and to meet the demand and provide excellent training. As all great visionary leaders do, Chief Smith continued to look for future enhancement opportunities. With the success of the annual municipal school now in its 89th year, he saw a need for an industrial annual fire school. That school has been going on for 55 years now. It's not uncommon today to see 200 to 300 firefighters out here each week from the industrial complexes around the United States. Just a few years later, he saw the great prospect for a Spanish school, and the Spanish-speaking fire school, I should say, for Mexico, Central America, and South America. The Spanish school just completed its 51st fire school less than 2 weeks ago. He was a strong believer that the municipal firefighters should have certification programs for both volunteer and paid firefighters. Appointed and reappointed by 3 different governors, Chief Smith served as the first chairman of the Texas Commission on Fire Protection, and he was very instrumental in working with the State Firemen's and Fire Marshals Association in developing a certification program for volunteer firefighters. He always had a special place in his heart for Texas firefighters. Chief Smith was also the first fire school chief to take training programs to foreign countries and develop this school as a worldwide leader in training. That small extension program I spoke about a while ago in 1950 has now extended out to obviously all the U.S. states and territories, but it's extended to over 61 different countries. And that small school that once trained 100 people back in 1930 now trains more than 100,000 people per year due to the foundations laid by Chief Smith. As a 45-year veteran of the fire service and former chief of this great school, I know of no other person in history of the fire service who has made a greater impact on training emergency responders than did Chief Henry D. Smith. He was the grandest man that I and others here today associated with this school have ever served with. Like all the great names on the wall, Chief Smith was a hero of mine. And I know that Chief Moore and many of the guest instructors in this crowd have that same sentiment. He was very kind, compassionate, respectful, humble, and a noble man. He expected his instructors to put the students first, deliver excellent cutting-edge instruction, and above all, be professional. He was one who appreciated and thanked his guest instructors with personal handwritten notes on thank you letters that he sent to them afterwards. This is a hallmark of Chief Smith that continues today with the past and current chiefs that have served his school. Sadly, Chief Smith passed away in January this year, just 7 weeks from celebrating his 100th birthday. Although he was a few weeks short, I will always consider him as living for 100 years. But what's important now is for his legacy to continue for another 100 years. And in doing so, Chief Moore and I ask that all the instructors out there, along with all you students who someday become future instructors, continue the quest that was set by Chief Smith to be the biggest and best fire school in the world. And do so with a commitment of excellence and a noble professional demeanor. As you walk the fire field this week and in coming years, take time to educate your students that the name on this building is more than just a name, but it's the name of the person who had the vision, the leadership persona to transform this school into the largest and best in the world. May God bless Texas, may God bless this fire school, and may God bless Chief Henry D. Smith.
In the United States, fire departments of early years were dispatched to fire calls using bells. Upon returning to quarters, a bell signal of 555 was sounded, indicating that their call was complete and that everyone was safe and accounted for. Today, we signal 555 as a final bell call for those instructors who have served us. At this time, we will retrieve the colors. Honor Guard, retrieve the colors. As is customary on this day of memory, we will lower the flags at this memorial to half staff to honor the names of all of those instructors inscribed upon this wall. As is also a custom, a bagpiper will perform the song of Amazing Grace. Flag detail, lower flags to half staff upon the sounding of Amazing Grace. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our ceremony for these guest instructors. Please stand by for additional instructions. All students and staff are to report to Building 5051 for a group photo. Immediately following the group photo, students in the rescue hazmat and pump ops classes located across the creek are to